Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. In this video, we are going to be previewing the Week 6 matchup between the San Francisco 49ers at the Atlanta Falcons. A lot to talk about in this video. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. Now, before we get into this matchup, I do want to say a couple of things. Thank you, everyone, to all the newer subscribers recently, really checking out the videos, leaving comments, liking. It means a lot to me, and it really helps out the channel. So first of all, thank you guys, all of you. Really appreciate it. Now, last week, both of these teams, very different stories. The 49ers come away with a very convincing win over the Carolina Panthers, 37-15, but we did lose a couple of key players in that game. So, of course, that's not ideal. The Atlanta Falcons lost to division rival Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. Now, of course, this game ended with some controversy over the awful call against Grady Jarrett, roughing the passer on Tom Brady. The Falcons actually had the Buccaneers stopped, only down 6, could have went down and got the lead, but, you know, hey, here it goes. The league, I guess, has got to protect Tom Brady, but Falcons lose 15-21 against the Buccaneers. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about before I get into the matchups and the keys to winning are some of the big news surrounding this game. Now, for the 49ers, we are going to be missing some key players. 3/4 of our starting defensive line will actually be out for this game. Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, and Nick Bosa is doubtful to play this game. I think the 49ers ultimately rest him this week, save him for the next 2 games, Kansas City and the LA Rams. Now, when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, however, they could be missing one of their best weapons in Kyle Pitts. They're already down Cordarrelle Patterson. He's on IR. He's a huge part of their offense, so now Atlanta really has to adjust. If they're missing Kyle Pitts too, it's going to make moving the ball for the Atlanta Falcons that much more difficult. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hop into some of the key matchups in this Week 6 game. The first matchup that I really have to talk about is going to be the 49ers wide receivers up against the Atlanta Falcons starting cornerback. So we're talking Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk up against AJ Terrell and Casey Hayward. Now Deebo, he leads the team in targets, receptions, yards, and tied for touchdown receptions. So we know, and basically, the game plan every week is get the ball in Deebo's hands. But to me, this could potentially be a breakout game for Brandon Ayuk. You know, the Falcons' pass defense is among the worst in the NFL. They're really struggling to get home with regards to pressure. So if we let those routes develop, get Brandon Ayuk the ball, good things typically happen. Now, the 2 guys who will be mostly covering Deebo and Ayuk, we're really looking at AJ Terrell, Casey Hayward. So AJ Terrell, fantastic player out of Clemson, 3rd year in the league if I'm not mistaken. This season, though, has struggled to a certain degree. When being targeted, he allows a 110 quarterback rating, already has 3 touchdowns given up, and a 60% completion rate. You compare that to the longtime veteran Casey Hayward, 76 quarterback rating when being targeted. He does have an interception and is allowing about a 57% completion rate. So the Falcons really just struggling to get pressure, allows the quarterbacks to have a lot of time to throw the football, and then thus the cornerbacks, they can only hold up for so long before it's just unrealistic to be able to cover good wide receivers for that long. Now, this matchup, it's really going to come also down to the offensive line of the 49ers. Grady Jarrett's an absolute menace in the interior of the defensive line, but if the Niners blocking can hold up, I really do like Deebo and Ayuk in this matchup. The next matchup is going to be a key one for the 49ers defense. Now, it's unlikely that Nick Bosa is going to be able to play in this game, so I'm looking at a couple of the key edge rushers. I'm looking at Samson Ebukam, who is back at practice, so he'll be a go for Sunday, and then also rookie Drake Jackson out of USC. Can these guys get enough pressure on Mariota, maybe force him into mistakes? This season, Mariota definitely has been fumbling the football a lot. I believe 7 fumbles, only 3 of them lost, but also thrown some interceptions. So if these guys can do their thing, allow us to only rush 4 and still get pressure, I definitely foresee the 49ers being able to force some turnovers. Now, the guys that they'll be going up against for the Falcons, pretty darn good offensive linemen here. Jake Matthews at left tackle, Caleb McGarry at right tackle. McGarry's actually probably having his best year as a pro. Jake Matthews, he's really holding it down at left tackle. They do also have a really solid left guard in Chris Cornelius Lindstrom. I was a big fan of his brother in the draft, who ended up going undrafted. And then their center is going to be Drew Dalman, actually the son of former 49er Chris Dalman. So a little bit of interesting facts there. But if the 49ers, if these guys, Ebukam, Drake Jackson, and of course the other guys too, Omenahu, Teray, Kerry Hyder, if these guys are able to get home without actually having to blitz, then that's going to be a huge advantage for the 49ers. However, in this case, I think you have to give a slight advantage here to the Atlanta Falcons just because Drake Jackson's still learning the game. Samson Ebukam, really a number 2 kind of rusher. He really is one of those guys where he excels when Bosa is messing with the pocket. So in this matchup here, I do have to give the slight advantage to the Atlanta Falcons. The third matchup that I want to talk about is going to be Charvarius Mooney-Ward up against rookie wide receiver Drake London. Now, if anyone hasn't seen just how good Charvarius Ward has been, wow, this guy, in my opinion, is arguably the best free agent pickup in the entire NFL this offseason. So with Charvarius Ward, leads the NFL in passes defense, is only allowing a 43 quarterback rating when being targeted. He's breaking up passes, he's got an interception, could have another 1 or 2, and he's just so good, especially when quarterbacks throw it up to those big receivers, and that's something that you think the Falcons are probably going to do with rookie wide receiver Drake London. 6'5", 210 pounds, amazing size. He actually does lead the Falcons with regards to targets, yards, receptions, and is tied for the most touchdowns on their team. Also, but here's the thing, the Mariota has thrown 2 of his 4 interceptions this year when targeting Drake London. Now that's somewhat to be expected when you are the receiver who gets targeted the most, and typically you're going to be going up against the other team's best cornerback, but Drake London is really their guy for this game. Now, Olamide Zaccheaus, now he is someone who's been coming on strong lately. He's a guy really big with the big plays, the splash plays. So if the 49ers, and they usually are pretty good at this, limit those splash plays, force the Falcons to have to march their way down the field, I do like the matchup between Charvarius Ward and Drake London. I think this one has to go with the veteran Charvarius Ward. Last but not least, and this one is going to be, I guess, a little bit more vague, but I'm going to put it down to Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw being able to limit what Marcus Mariota does with his legs. Mariota throwing the football, not so great this year. The Falcons' passing offense is near the bottom of the entire NFL. But when you look at Mariota, he's actually been pretty successful running the ball with his legs. Last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he led the team in rushing, 7 rushes for 61 yards. The 49ers notoriously have some difficulties against mobile quarterbacks, so these guys are going to have to be on their A game. And here's the thing, Marcus Mariota is going to be running the football a lot more. On the year, he's averaging about 7 rushes per game, but that was with their leading rusher, Cordarrelle Patterson, playing the first 4 games. He's not going to be out there, so they may even lean on Mariota a lot more than normal in this game. And of course, the Falcons' offensive coaching staff will recognize that is a weakness of the 49ers defense. So if the 49ers can contain Mariota, force a couple of fumbles, I think that's going to be really good for the 49ers' chances of coming away with another win in this Week 6 matchup. And now let's talk about the keys for winning for the 49ers in this game. Well, we talked a little bit about it just in the last point. The 49ers ultimately have to be able to contain the Atlanta Falcons running game. They're actually ranked number 3 in the NFL in terms of rushing yards per game. That's really going to be the game plan for Atlanta coming into this matchup, is going to be make some plays, whether it's special teams or a turnover, run the ball well, control the clock, and then hopefully come away and make enough plays to beat the 49ers. The 49ers are going to have to shut that down. That's going to require some big games by some backups. Kevin Givens, Hassan Ridgeway, and then we got Akeem Spence. These guys are going to have to hold their own, along with the other guys in the front 7 too, and limit the Falcons' ability to run the ball, especially on those early downs. Now, when you look at the 49ers, they really have to attack the Atlanta Falcons' passing defense. The Atlanta Falcons passing defense, number 29 in the NFL. This could be a game. Now, you don't really necessarily want to put the ball in Jimmy's hands to throw 30, 40 times. That's typically not a recipe for success. but the 49ers cannot be afraid to attack the Atlanta defense throwing the football. I love what Jimmy did against Carolina, throwing the ball deep, one-on-one matchups, giving his receivers a chance. I hope to continue to see that, and I think this is really a chance for either Ayuk or Kittle to come away with a big day and put up some major yards. Now, looking after that, speaking of Jimmy Garoppolo, if we do manage to put the ball in his hands, or if we do want to air it out a little bit, can Jimmy Garoppolo, for the first time in his career, go 3 straight games without giving up a turnover, whether it's an interception or a fumble? He's never done it before. Whenever Jimmy doesn't turn the ball over, usually great things happen with the 49ers. If we can continue that, that could be a huge plus. And ultimately, I think one of the main reasons why the 49ers could lose this game is if we beat ourselves with turnovers, or the next point that I'm going to talk about is with special teams. This season, the special teams has managed to get worse under new coordinator Brian Schneider compared to last year with Richard Hightower. We invested in free agency, George Odom, Oren Burks, Ray McLeod, the new coordinator. So far, not paying off. We've had multiple field goals blocked, given up some big returns. So if we can really get that in line, and the potential return of linebacker Curtis Robinson, who is one of those special teams aces, could really help out if he is activated for this game on Sunday. But ultimately, no field goals blocked, no crazy returns given up. Play a clean game. That's going to be a major key to winning for the 49ers. And last but not least, and this is also going to be looking back on the game last Sunday, the 49ers actually had some struggles getting pressure when only bringing the four defensive linemen. So last week against the Panthers, the Niners had 6 sacks. So you're thinking, great, the defensive line did awesome. And I think they did pretty darn well. But only 2 of the 6 sacks were from the defensive line. So with the 49ers, and it looks like they really are very aware of this, and D'Amico Ryan's arguably the best in the business when it comes to coaching defense. If their front four are not getting home, and we're going to be down a lot of guys, we have to get creative with bringing blitzes. The different times, mix it up. Corner blitzes, safety blitzes, linebacker blitzes, but also being very aware and cognizant of the fact that Mariota can run with the football. I'm going to give you guys my prediction for the game. I see the 49ers winning this game. It's going to be pretty close in my opinion. I see it being 27-20 in favor of the 49ers. Ultimately, like week in and week out, if we can play a clean game, I think the Niners are a more talented team, and that's even with all of these injuries mounting. I do like the 49ers' chances a lot, and I think ultimately it's going to be one of those games where we're going to see some different things. I think we're going to target Danny Gray a couple of times, maybe try and get the ball in Ray McLeod's hands. We'll see what happens. I'm sure Shanahan has some interesting things dialed up. Really just excited to see how the defense performs. Going to be interested to see how we do without Emmanuel Mosley. My guess is Ambry Thomas starts the game. Maybe we'll see a little bit of Jason Verrett. We try and get him back to game speed before the big game against the Kansas City Chiefs. But ultimately, guys, that is my preview of this Week 6 matchup between the 49ers and Falcons. Do please put your thoughts in the comment section, like the video, and also come to the stream on Sunday morning Pacific time. I'll be going live at 9:30 a.m., about 30 minutes before kickoff. The game is at 10 a.m. It's in Atlanta. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We've had a lot of success recently and hope to continue that momentum. But thank you very much, guys. Again, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I'm going to say 2 things right now. The butt counts, and I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side.